No space for you, Garnacho. Paul Scholes says manager Amorim should reject Garnacho's apology letter amid Garnacho begging on his knees. Following Manchester United's triumphant campaign in the Premier League's summer series, an unexpected storm has emerged, one that involves rising star Alejandro Garnacho, new manager Ruben Amorim, and a growing debate about professionalism, discipline, and redemption. While fans celebrated United's flawless pre-season performances, another narrative was simmering beneath the surface: Garnacho's controversial exclusion from the squad and the ripple effect it's had throughout the club. At the heart of this controversy lies an emotional apology letter from Garnacho, described by insiders as a desperate, even tearful plea to manager Amorim for forgiveness and reintegration into the team. But according to Manchester United legend Paul Scholes, the letter should be dismissed outright. For Scholes, this is not the time for sentimentality. Instead, it's a moment for setting a precedent that speaks volumes about the club's identity and expectations. Garnacho, once considered untouchable due to his undeniable potential, now finds himself on uncertain ground, and possibly at a defining crossroads in his young career. The situation unfolds: Garnacho's sudden exclusion from the squad. Alejandro Garnacho, a 19-year-old winger known for his explosive pace, flair, and eye for goal, was noticeably absent from the squad that conquered the Premier League summer series. Initially, fans speculated that his omission could be tactical or injury-related. However, it soon became evident that Garnacho's absence had less to do with performance and more to do with attitude. Sources close to the club have revealed that Garnacho's training ground behavior and general approach did not align with Amorim's expectations for discipline, maturity, and tactical compliance. Under Ruben Amorim, Manchester United has quickly embraced a system that values teamwork, humility, and consistent professionalism. Amorim's decision to exclude Garnacho from the tour was not taken lightly, but it was based on repeated instances of non-compliance and individualism, traits that have no place in Amorim's tightly controlled environment. One training session insider described Garnacho as talented but obstinate, indicating that while the player possesses the raw ability to shine, his reluctance to buy into the collective philosophy was too much for the coaching staff to ignore. Amorim reportedly made the call to prioritize players who bought into his methods and who contributed positively to squad harmony, sending a message that no one, regardless of potential, is above the team ethos. A public plea: Garnacho's apology letter. After being left out of the squad and watching his teammates celebrate pre-season glory without him, Garnacho reportedly experienced a significant emotional breakdown. What followed was an impassioned apology letter addressed to Amorim, in which Garnacho expressed regret for his actions, admitted his faults, and begged for a second chance to prove himself. Some reports even suggest he was on his knees, metaphorically and literally, in his efforts to win back the manager's trust. The letter, which was described by club sources as raw and emotionally charged, detailed Garnacho's struggles with maturity and his desire to learn. He expressed admiration for Amorim's philosophy and insisted he was willing to change, both in attitude and approach. However, the sincerity of this apology has been called into question by several observers, including one of the most respected voices in Manchester United history. Paul Scholes speaks out: no room for sentiment. Paul Scholes, who spent his entire professional career at Manchester United and now serves as a respected pundit, didn't mince words when discussing the Garnacho situation. In a scathing critique, Scholes dismissed the idea of immediately welcoming Garnacho back into the fold, regardless of the emotional letter. Apologies are easy, Scholes said in an interview with a leading sports outlet. Anyone can write a letter and say sorry. What matters is how you behave after the apology. If Amorim accepts it without consequence, it sends a message to the rest of the squad that rules can be bent with a few words. That's not how a professional football club should be run. Scholes' comments resonated strongly within the footballing community, particularly among fans who believe that a strong, disciplined culture is the foundation for long-term success. Scholes, who came through the club's iconic class of '92, understands better than most the importance of attitude and commitment in shaping a winning team. His words were not simply criticism of a young player, they were a call for leadership and accountability. Ruben Amorim's managerial dilemma. The challenge now falls squarely on Ruben Amorim. As a manager renowned for nurturing youth while enforcing high standards, Amorim finds himself in a position that could define the early stages of his tenure at Old Trafford. Accepting Garnacho's apology could be viewed as compassionate, but it risks undermining the disciplinary foundation he's worked to establish. Rejecting the apology, on the other hand, reinforces his authority but could further alienate one of the club's most talented prospects. Amorim's management style is not one of cold authoritarianism. He has been praised for building strong relationships with players and offering them space to develop. However, he is also unapologetically firm when it comes to discipline and focus. His message has been clear since day one: respect the team, follow instructions, and always put the collective above personal ego. What Amorim decides next will send shockwaves through the dressing room. If Garnacho is reinstated, he must earn it through behavior, not just words. If he is sidelined longer, or even made available for transfer, it could be the start of a hard, albeit necessary lesson for young players everywhere. Garnacho at a career crossroads. For Garnacho, the current situation is nothing short of a defining moment. At just 19, he has already experienced both the highs of breaking into a world-class team and the lows of falling out of favor. His talent is undeniable. Few young wingers possess his combination of pace, trickery, and goal-scoring instinct. But raw talent alone isn't enough to thrive at Manchester United, a club with an unforgiving spotlight and little patience for complacency. The next steps Garnacho takes will likely shape the rest of his career. If he truly absorbs this setback as a lesson, he could come back stronger, more mature, more disciplined, and more focused. If he fails to heed the warning, however, he could find himself on the fringes not just at United, but of top-tier football entirely. Multiple academy graduates before him have struggled with similar issues: attitude problems, failure to adapt, misplaced priorities, and many have seen the career stagnate or collapse altogether. Garnacho now stands at that same fork in the road. The club has given him the platform, and now it's up to him to demonstrate whether he belongs. A divided fanbase and broader implications. As with any high-profile case, opinions among supporters are deeply divided. Some fans advocate for compassion and patience, emphasizing that Garnacho is still a teenager who is navigating the pressures of elite football. They argue that United has a duty to guide him, not abandon him. Others, aligning more with Scholes' view, insist that professional standards must be maintained. They argue that lowering expectations for one player can quickly unravel a culture that took years to build. The issue also speaks to a broader trend in football: how should clubs manage the development of precocious talent in an era of instant fame and social media attention? Garnacho has millions of followers online, lucrative sponsorship deals, and a growing public profile, all while still learning the basics of professionalism. Clubs now face the added responsibility of managing not only the tactical development of their players but also their mental and emotional growth. The Garnacho case may prompt wider discussions within Manchester United about mentoring, psychological support, and pathways for young players. Conclusion: a harsh but necessary lesson in professionalism. The saga of Alejandro Garnacho is more than just a footnote in Manchester United's pre-season. It's a revealing case study in the complexities of modern football. It touches on leadership, discipline, the fragility of potential, and the weight of expectations placed on young shoulders. Whether Amorim chooses to reinstate Garnacho or enforce continued exclusion, the decision must be rooted in what's best for the team and for Garnacho's development as a professional. Paul Scholes' hardline stance may seem harsh, but it reflects the deep-rooted values that helped define United's most successful eras. Amorim, meanwhile, has a delicate balancing act ahead, one that could shape his legacy as much as Garnacho's. The road ahead for Garnacho is uncertain. But one thing is clear: if he truly wishes to earn his place in this Manchester United side, the apology letter must be just the beginning. The real work, of rebuilding trust, redefining his mindset, and reclaiming his role, starts now. And the world will be watching.